So, hello everyone. My name is Darla Saunders, and on behalf of the Atlantic Salmon Conservation Foundation and the Canadian Rivers Institute, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. This series is made possible in part thanks to the contributions of the Government of Canada. Today we are delighted to be hosting Amy Weston. Amy is the manager of the Nova Scotia Salmon Association, NSLC Adopt-A-Stream program. She has 20 years experience in aquatic habitat restoration and community stewardship. And as Michelle mentioned at the beginning of our webinar session, that she's coming to us today from the very edge of the storm in Lunenburg County in Nova Scotia. So for those of you who are new to the series, we're going to have the question and answer session at the very end of Amy's presentation, and you'll have the option to either type in your question or ask it directly to Amy using the go-to system, and I'll talk a little bit more about how to do that at the end if you're new to the system. So I'm now going to turn the webinar over to Amy.
Great, thanks very much, Darla. I really appreciate the series that you and Michelle have put on through the Conservation Foundation and CRI, because it's had some really great webinars so far. What I'm going to speak to today is a watershed-based habitat restoration template that we've developed, and I'll just give you a little bit of an intro to what we're going to do if I can get my guys to work. Sorry about that. There we go. Next. That's always how it goes. It doesn't, your arrows quit working for you. There you go. Okay, thanks. So I want to give the question that was earlier as to what the various acronyms stand for, and what I'd like to. So I'll give you a little background. NSLC Adopt-A-Stream has a community mandate in Nova Scotia to protect their waterways, and we provide technical support and project funding. It's a program of the Nova Scotia Salmon Association. I'm trying to get rid of that. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm having a little technical difficulty. The wind is blowing hard up here. Okay, great. The Nova Scotia Salmon Association is a not-for-profit conservation organization. It is a regional council of the Atlantic Salmon Federation and has affiliates across the province. So since we've been involved in the program, there are about 35 groups that participate. There's a lot of community engagement in the program, a lot of volunteer hours, and we also provide a lot of experience to people during the summer field season, and we try to broadcast things as widely as possible. The NSSA delivers this program on behalf of the organized recreational angling community, and we have support and encouragement and advice from Fisheries and Oceans Canada, Provincial Department of Fisheries, and our Provincial Department of Environment. Just to give you a sense of the kind of the scope of the work that we do in restoration, to date there's been 1.6 million square meters of habitat throughout 50 watersheds. We plant a lot of trees, and we also work hard to reestablish fish passage in our streams and rivers. Our current funding from the program comes from the Nova Scotia Sportfish Habitat Fund, and what we do is put anglers' money to work. There's a very diversified group of organizations that are involved in the program, and our community partners range from small 2 or 3 people operations to fairly organized professional organizations. And our corporate sponsor is the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation. They've been our title sponsor since 2010. Their support and money has not only increased the amount of projects that we're able to fund and general public awareness, but in particular it's allowed us to expand our program services, and that's been a real boon. Having had so many groups and different projects on the go, it's a challenge to keep track of everything that's going on, and a way of organizing things so people are getting the best bang for their buck. Those services that we've been able to expand have been primarily in the range of planning tools and training. We have an aquatic connectivity program. We've also been developing habitat suitability indexes, which will soon be available online. and also the Watershed-Based Habitat Restoration Planning Template, which I'm going to speak to today. The rationale for presenting this, for developing the template was as a way of storing information and data collected by the groups, also as a way of, as a repository for a lot of the work of information they collect over the years. As everyone can appreciate, community groups, all organizations have a certain amount of change of personnel, and keeping track of information collected over time is important if the group's going to continue to be successful. Our template is map-based and provides site-specific, with site-specific format. We're really trying to go for a certain level of detail. It's a very practical template, and the goal is so that it could be applied to either small watersheds, sub-watersheds within bigger systems, or even the main river of a watershed. They can also be kind of collected together to get the overall watershed view. We focus on pretty specific actions that can be done to restore habitat for fish and fish populations, and it incorporates kind of prescriptions for specific projects and also broader management issues. It's intended, of course, to be a living document that can be updated and modified as things change in the watershed. Our restoration template is in 4 parts. It includes general watershed introductory information, then labeled 1 to 10,000 topographical maps, a problems and prescriptions table, and a restoration plan summary. So what I'd like to do next is take you through the template, show you the kinds of some of the work the ways it's collected, and then run through a sample of one of the groups that have completed these. So the first part is a general overview, and it's really important to collect that overarching information about a watershed. We've tried to kind of come up with as many of the areas of information that we would like to know before we go out to help a group with the design and layout of the restoration projects. The idea is to give some context to where the watershed is in relationship to others and what it looks like within. So I'll just show you some of the fields in particular. There's 20. The first section is a 25 field, and some things get more detail than others. Like any plan, it depends on how much the good information in is good information out. So it's just pretty general, but does give a pretty good idea of where it's situated in the watershed, elevations, general information about the width of the brook, also water quality, soils, and lakes. So each of these topics is often hyperlinked, I guess, to our upstream manual. The manual is available on our website online and provides a lot of quite detailed information about collecting data, stream surveys, watershed information, and just is a good general reference to proceed with. So continuing in the first part, we do a watershed boundary, and it's important to delineate watershed boundaries. That can be done either by hand on a map or lots of software will do it for you. So delineating the watershed, in this case, it's a sub-watershed within a larger watershed. And then from there, you can get to more detailed maps, which is the second part, which we think that 1 to 10,000 is a good scale to work on, and a really great source for maps is it's Natural Resources Canada's Atlas. Here's the website there, but this is just a screenshot, but it allows you to zoom into the different levels and take a screenshot and cut and paste and paint onto it. Of course, some groups have a lot more GIS capability, ArcGIS or whatever, but when we were planning this template, we wanted to make it usable for kind of any level of group or person, so that whether they have a lot of experience coming into it or not, they would still be able to pull together a pretty good document and wouldn't necessarily require a lot of GIS or mapping skills to be able to proceed. So the goal with the second part is to be able to, from an office or around a table on the map or on front of the screen, to be able to pinpoint some of the key areas that are already known about the watershed, where the road crossings are, whether there's already known information like where, say, a sawmill was and whatever other kinds of features are in the watershed. We've suggested a list of about 30 different features that could be plotted along the way, and as much as possible, people can work around the table first, and eventually they'll get out and walk the streams to get to actually ground truth things. The third part of our of the template is a problems and prescriptions table. The first section really is a key part. It describes clearly, as clearly as possible, the conditions of the brook as people see it. This is once people are out and walking. The more detail that goes into there, the more information is available to somebody else coming along to read the document and understand what that section of brook looks like without having to necessarily go and spend a lot of time walking it themselves. It provides a lot of information about the condition of the stream, and this is the point at which measurements get taken. And when this is completed, you get a lot of information as to where it is and can be repeatable and go back to it if necessary. So the ground truthing and data collection, we look for a number of key data. It's important that field data gets collected. Sometimes groups will develop a bit of a field sheet. We also have some field sheets available for people to collect them and then translate the data into. So as you can see, it's a pretty standard listing of what gets collected when you're doing a stream assessment, but it's surprising that if it's not actually spelled out for what needs to be collected, people tend to not really put the detail in. So it's important to have the list really allows people to focus in on what they want to be collecting and make notes of it as they go along. In particular, when we are talking to groups about what kind of data we want collected, the stream features are important. We do a lot of work in channels and in riparian areas, and in order to understand what kinds of restoration may be possible and beneficial, it's important to have that kind of detail. When all of the traveling through the brooks are done and the data is collected, there's, I'll just go back one more, sorry. So I just want to run over these sections across the top. The maps are broken into sections, and you can put a stream feature as to why you would have stopped there or what was the cause, whether it's a confluence or something more exciting like a big eroding bank or something like that. Often people are traveling with a GPS and so can collect the coordinates right away. There's site details, adjacent land use. Also, then there's a prescriptions for restoration, some sort of project ranking, and project status. Sometimes there's something to say about that, and sometimes there isn't. And as you go along, that will become more apparent. When the restoration template is completed, the prescriptions, then there's a summarizing area, and this part is really key, and a lot of effort gets put into this section by groups using the plan. this is the part that generally gets read the most by other people and has the opportunity to really kind of keep track of where you want to go. So it's in essentially 9 questions in a table format, and we tried to do a point form to keep it concise, so and readable, and not too wordy. So the first question is sort of generally, how has the condition of the watershed changed over the years? And this is an important kind of from a historical perspective, and gives a sense of puts it into context for what's the hope or aspiration for the watershed. The second question is, what are the most likely limiting factors in terms of aquatic productivity? And there's an opportunity for discussion, whether it's habitat fragmentation or other kinds of land use. The next is to determine what are the most important restoration needs in the watershed. And then the next questions ask that what gets listed are the short-term restoration goals for, say, for up to the next 5 years. And then, so then within the next within the first 5 to 10 years, and then within the first, from now for 5 years, and then 5 to 10 years. So for the longer term, and then maybe even some groups have even longer term plans for what might be hoped for in the long term. In our case, in Nova Scotia, an aspiration is to have improved water quality with a reduction of acidity in our rivers, and really it's a very long-term prognosis for some of those goals. And then there's also the question of wider land use management and which techniques can be used to encourage improved conditions in the watercourse. So those may not be actual physical activities, but maybe more participation in land use planning and other kinds of opportunities. And also, it's possible to sort of list how you might engage the wider public. So we tried to capture the range of questions that would be a group might want to address. And part of the goal of the template is that it's not that this is earth-shattering or brand new. It's just a way of collecting the information in a clear way that permits people to really focus on having a document at the end that's a living document and useful. So what I'd like to do now is just give you a little run-through of one of the plans that was been completed. A number of groups have been actively involved in collecting, in completing them. And one I think I've got pulled up here is a Coins Brook, which is a, oops, I'll come to that in a second. So since I've got this up, so our watershed template is available under project resources. And I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge the contributors. In particular, Bob Rutherford's been key in, is our chair for the adoption committee and is an aquatic biologist and provides a lot of oversight. Steve Keynes was the key developer in terms of writing up the template. And in terms of field testing, I need to give credit to Jen Campbell at Blue Nose Coastal Action Foundation. She's done she's used the template quite extensively and has developed a number of plans for people. So I'm just going to pull up this. Oops. The Coins Brook Watershed Plan, and let people have a look at how what the end result of it is. So I'm just going to skip through to a couple of pages in particular rather than scroll down through the whole thing. So here's an example of how how they did the boundary map. This is the Coins Brook, which is a tributary to the Shedcamp River. And they delineated that, and it gives you a good sense of the context of where that brook is relative to the river. And then here's an example of how the 1 to 10,000 maps are broken down, and you can really pinpoint all these different activities and issues going on. So I'll just get that a bit bigger for people to see. So the level of detail that gets collected depends a lot on who's collecting the data, and the more data that's collected, the better the plan will be. In this particular river, there's a lot of stream crossings over time that have been a concern, so they have a lot of notations of those. But you can see these are broken down to section 11 and 12, and it carries on. So all the maps are in one place, and then what follows after that is the prescriptions table, which has the descriptive summary at the beginning, so that anyone coming along could look at the map and say, okay, section 3 is from here to here, and it's approximately this wide and has information about how long it is and whether there are pools, and that this is a really key area. And then there's the stops along the way throughout the section that get noted by the people doing the walking. And not only is there all the information collected, but ultimately they decide whether or not there's going to be any work done. There's a ranking, and whether it's not applicable into the project status, or if they can add more and more in over time. So sometimes it's a low priority, it's not a large concern. They can rank it as a medium priority, as a case for more work to be done right away, or a high priority if it's something that's going to happen sooner or needs to have a lot of attention focused on it. So it's a lot of detailed information that can then be applied. It provides a plan that people can use for funding future projects, and really demonstrates a good understanding to potential funders and other supporters of how organized the group is to be able to proceed. So their restoration summary is essentially a roadmap for the organization's future work. The jumpy computer, and really shows that the amount of thought that can go into having made the plans for the work. It also helps to take good pictures along the way, and because, of course, as we know, sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, as I said, this is our template is available on our website, and it's under project resources. It's a downloadable, just a Word file that can be expanded and used as desired, and it's a great tool for people that just want to really collect their information and gather it up. So I'm going to wrap it there. Thanks for tuning in. I'll take some questions and go into some details. I think I kind of breezed through that a little bit quickly, so I'll just turn that over to you, Darla.
Thanks, Amy. That was excellent, and I think I can say from experience that the template is a really useful tool. I've really seen how effective it is for the groups that use it in Nova Scotia, and I think it's a wonderful resource that's available to everybody online.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that in addition to it having the template itself, there's also sort of introductory notes about how to go about using it, and I would encourage people to take it. It's not a high-tech tool. It can be as high-tech or as low-tech as anyone needs it to be.
I think, though, that's really one of its benefits in that groups can really adapt it to their own uses. And as you said, it's a living document, so as more detail is acquired, it can be easily added to the plan.